Hello and welcome to the NRL iRacing series. We are at Indianapolis, but this is going to be a little bit of a special one because I'm doing it off camera. So we were originally going to go to Iowa, but the track broke. Reflect pit stops didn't work. They ended up pitting with like 10 to go, even though they were like halfway through their run. So I scrapped Iowa, and we are now at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is the third to last race of the season. Our penultimate race will be at Homestead, and we will end the season at Kansas. Here we see Isabella Armstrong, who was the first driver to come out at practice, trying to put down a lap time. That is Eric Matthews, a championship hopeful, behind her. As Matthews goes to the top of the board by 2/10. But that slipstream help. I don't think practice times are going to be incredibly representative here, just because of that slipstream effect. So take everything you see here at a grain of salt. You can also see we have a ticker. This is just caps, but I like it, so we are keeping it. The only unfortunate thing is there isn't a timer on how much time is left in this session. In fact, actually, let me see if that's true. Let me see if I can this do it. Oh, it does. Okay, interesting. So now we know how much time is left in practice. That's a really neat looking change. I'll just remove that when practice ends. We're looking at Brandon Gray right now. Brock Keselowski will be making his inaugural NRL series debut here. He attempted Charlotte, but did not make the show. So we were at capacity here at Indianapolis, so he will be racing today. Another driver that will be making his first start is Casey Reyes in the NJ Racing 68 car. This will be this team's only start of Season 1. Going to be interesting to see how they do. They are a D- team, so don't expect for them to be very good, but it's nice that they're here. Oh, wow. The Cup Race at Gateway is also going on. I have that going on my second monitor. And Josh Berry just... Yeah, wow. That's tough for him. Like Elliott just kind of ran him over. Yeah. Good job, Chase. Anyway, Todd Conley is leading practice. Your championship leader trying to put a bow end on his championship challenge. Having about an 86-point lead over Pat Horn, and Horn has a 1-point advantage over Brock Keselowski in the 28 team. 2 minutes left in practice. Is Conley leading us? Interestingly, Craig Martin is 4th right now in the session. He must have gotten a good slipstream lap there. Quentin Riggs in the 79 also put down a good time. Greg Ward is in this race. Also put down a stellar lap time. 17th in practice. Like I said, practice times are not going to be the most representative thing in the world because of how big the slipstream is here at Indy. We reached the final minute of practice. We're going to take a look at Brock Keselowski here for this last bit. 38th in practice of the 39 who have run. A very, very poor effort. Almost a full second off of Conley's lap. Actually, now it's Stephen Lowry at the top of the board. In the last minute, taking it from Conley. So does Sean Marriott. Marriott goes 8th. Tim Richardson, 9th. How about that? Yeah, don't expect these guys who top practice to do well in qualifying, which will come very shortly for you guys. As here is Stephen Lowry. Man who getting it done here. Cool cameras here. It doesn't look like it. Nothing out of the ordinary. The practice is now over. Come on in. Tough break for Josh Berry. He's out of the race. Been a really bad round of 16 for Josh. Two races into the round of 16, 2 crashes. Berry kind of crowded him, but he was 3 wide, so just don't think Chase should have thrown it in there. As everybody heads down pit road, it is Stephen Lowry in the Osada Racing Enterprises car. Taking practice at the last minute from our championship leader, Todd Conley, as we enter into qualifying. I think we have to watch our championship leader in this session. He gets a good race here. It might be game over for the rest of the field with only 2 races left in this season. But he has to execute. As we head through turn number 3 and number 4. After the warm-up lap, you get 2 laps in qualifying. Unlike real life, where most of the time it's, you only get 1 lap for these AI cars, the second lap is almost always quicker than the first. The ticker will update whenever the first car crosses the line, but Todd Conley here for his first timed lap. This is going to be a really, really tense qualifying session. I think track position is going to be very important here at Indy. Not the easiest track to pass on in the world, and especially on this calendar. Where you start could determine your race. Todd Conley is going to cross the line on lap 1. He is scored 3rd right now. Your lap 1 hero is Sean Marriott in the 1. Lauren McKnighton 2nd. Stephen Lowry, your practice winner, scored 15th at the moment. Kyle Porter in the 55, a really bad lap 1. He's going to have to pick it up. Same for Brandon Gray. That 21. 29th quickest after the first lap. The Peterson cars had a good lap, both of them in the top 10, but checkered flag in qualifying. This is for all the marbles. Todd Conley is going to cross the line. Can he improve enough? He needs about a 10th. 4 tenths now. It is not going to be pole. Isabella Armstrong scores her 2nd pole of the season. It is a Ken Scott front row lockout with Jason Cooper on the front row. Bryce Parsons in the 67. How about this? Where is he? There he is. 8th quickest for Bryce Parsons. What a qualifying effort. Same for Keith Richmond in the 30. Starting in 6th place. You have a couple of upsets here in qualifying. How about that for Bryce Parsons, though? We start the next session. Looks like stage 1 coming to a close. It looks like it's Briscoe versus Larson. Oh, Briscoe cleared him. Wow. Oh, but he overdrove the corner. Nope. Briscoe wins the first stage. After Larson dominated. Wow. Yeah, we have 60 laps here at Indianapolis. We get started pacing here. This track, a last-second addition, but a very welcome one if it works. Indianapolis, one of the most famous racetracks in the world, by far the most famous oval racetrack in the world, along with Daytona. As you can see here, Bryce Parsons in the 67, a great qualifying effort. Todd Conley all the way down in 9th, while Pat Horn is in 3rd. Brock Keselowski nowhere to be found. Starting in P17, deep in the field. We talked about how important track position is going to be for this race, and Keselowski, we're going to have 2 runs here at Indy like we usually do. But he is going to have a really tall order if he wants to make up any points. Because he has to. He has to gain for the rest of these races if he wants to have any shot at this championship. But right now, Pat Horn in the 2 has put himself in the position that he needs to be in order to make this a fight at Homestead in Kansas. Now, Conley was very quick in practice. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes through this field, if he can. Another championship rival, Eric Matthews, sharing the same row as he is. As the pace car is going to come in here, Isabella Armstrong is going to lead the field for the second time this season, the first time since the Talladega 500. Isabella Armstrong coming to the restart zone is going to set us green here at Indianapolis. It was a good start from Lauren McKnight in the 12, but an even better one for Isabella Armstrong. It was a great launch off the start for Armstrong. And in a season where Ken Scott Racing really needed a rebound race, they are 1-2 right now. Todd Conley, your championship leader, is up a spot. Now going to be up 2 as he gets past Keith Richmond in the 30 car. Sean Marriott up 4 spots already, trying to get by Richmond as well. Sean Marriott in the 1, losing a little bit of time. That's Bryce Parsons. Bryce Parsons in the 67, now down to 10th. That car, not a very, hasn't been a very fast race car this season. The equipment is probably going to bring him closer to the midfield or the back. However, it's still good to see them qualify up front, give them a little bit of TV time. How about Sean Marriott, though, up 3 spots, inside of the top 10. Conley continues his charge, currently up 2, trying to make it 3, goes to the inside of Danny Wygand in the 24 car. Down the inside they go. Conley trying to make it a double overtake, trying to get past Lauren McKnight in the 12. McKnight getting the run on the outside, will not get by the 12, but does get by Wygand, who seems to be really loose. Loses a spot to Keith Richmond in the 30. Sean Marriott getting by them. The gap is 0.6 of a second to the lead. Pat Horn has been very slowly reeling in Jason Cooper in the 15, trying to take second. However, Armstrong is starting to check out. The top 5 are all where they started, but Todd Conley is up 3 spots and is one of the biggest movers inside of the top 10. Marriott has caught back up to Danny Wygand in the 24, trying to make it 4 spots up on this start. It looks like Bryce Parsons is starting to settle in here. Probably going to get passed by Connor Harris in the 17. That's an A-plus car versus what I believe is a D-plus car, if I'm not mistaken. So a big difference in equipment there. As Harris takes a look but is not able to get there. But Conley is on rails right now. Trying his absolute hardest to lock up this championship. Well, he can't clinch it, but he can put a nice bow on it. He's just outside of being 1 race ahead in the championship, but that will require Pat Horn to lose more spots, as there is going to be a battle here for second soon. Pat Horn has caught Jason Cooper in the 15. as Cooper has kept it around 0.6 of a second to Isabella Armstrong. We'll be interested to see how that plays out. Clean air has been really important with these cars. We've seen drivers win by multiple seconds. Clean air is king here in the Xfinity car. Pat Horn in third. Got a really good run on Cooper in the 15. Will he take a run onto the inside? He will not. Running a little bit higher. I think that's a mistake out of Pat Horn. But Pat looks really, really fast right now. It's going to be a challenge to pass, but it is certainly not impossible. Shout out to Keith Richmond in the 30. Down one spot, started 6th, is now 7th. But Richmond in that Peterson car having a really, really good run right now. I believe this is only his 3rd start for Sean Peterson Racing. You have Danny Wygent in the 24 taking a look at the driver of the 30. Richmond is running a limited schedule. He is the highest running part-time driver ahead of even Connor Harris in the A-plus car. So you really have to be impressed with this 30 as he fights back on Wygent, an aggressive move to keep that spot from the 24. But you have to think it's only a matter of time until Wygent gets Richmond there. Connor Harris did eventually get by Bryce Parsons in the 67. Parsons is now in P11. Brock Keselowski is up 4 spots since this race started and is taking a look at Eric Matthews in the 03. Not enough of a run to get underneath him. But we talked about at the top of the show, Keselowski not having a good qualifying effort and is trying to make his way through the field to give himself any shot of at least getting second in points. But that looks to be slipping away right now. Eric Matthews is ahead of him. That's a championship rival for Keselowski. Ryan Vio got by Brock. See Sean Marriott underneath Danny Wygent. An interesting battle brewing there. Marriott all the way down. That's the preferred line. Wygent got really loose there. And that's going to be Connor Harris following through. Danny now down to P10. Down 3 spots from his starting position. Bryce Parsons has not let this lower half of the top 10 group go, though. Starting at 8th place. I think that's what he needs to do. Just keep the draft. And just continue just surviving. You know, he's fighting with far superior equipment right now. As he looks down the inside of Wygent, that 24 car is definitely ill handling. Parsons gonna try and make a move on the inside. This is where Marriott got him, but enough of a run for Wygent to shut the door. So Connor Harris is now gonna take a look on Sean Marriott. Not going to happen. Todd Conley is still trying to work over Lauren McKnight. Pat Horn is still keeping Jason Cooper in their sights. And Armstrong is not necessarily running away with this right now. Cooper actually got the better exit. It's going to take about a 10th off, but no moves being made at the front right now. Eric Matthews in the 03 trying to get by Bryce Parsons in the 67. Is it going to be an aggressive move from Matthews? It is not. There's Ryan Vio in the 05, your Auto Club winner. Theo goes down the inside of Eric Matthews. Kozlinski going to try and follow through. Wow, an aggressive move from Payson Jennings in the 5. Get by Brock there. Looks like Kozlinski doesn't have the long run speed that he needs. Biggest mover of the race I can see right now is a co-owned by Kyle Porter in the 55, up 8 spots. Really good for Kyle to see him do well. Has not had a spectacular season at Amethyst Racing so far. Still not a great run, but is trying to salvage what he can right now. Parsons is still holding on to P11. Good to see from them as Armstrong is starting. Get by as Todd Conley finally worked over Lauren McKnight and is up into the top 5. Notice you really have to get the move done before turn 2 if you want to pass around the outside. The outside is good in turn 1, but it's just not in 2. You saw Eric Matthews try and make that move. Same thing happened to Danny Wygen, got really, really loose there. Who's now falling to 10th, Connor Harris trying to make a charge up to the front. A little bit further down the field. It's Kyle Porter in the 55 trying to work over Jared McKenzie in the 41. Both have had pretty good starts here. Around the outside for Kyle Porter. And like I said, clear before turn number 2. Get that pass complete. Francis Townsend in the 7. Had a really bad run. That's going to be another spot for Kyle Porter if he can clear, which he has the forward momentum. A little bit of an arrow push from the 41 of McKenzie. I don't think he stands a chance against Porter. He does not. Kyle Porter up to 17th, up now 10 spots since the race start. Also want to give a little bit of a shout out to Brett Foster in the 56 car, Omega Racing. Have had a pretty bad season, all things considered. Up to 24th spot now. 23rd would be a really good day for Ernie Leffler if he could hold on. I didn't notice, but he had a good qualifying effort. The 23rd would be a good day for them. Brendan Fox running just about where he's expected to. But Tyler Moffitt is running great for where Parker Enterprises is expected to run. They're about top 20 car, running it, putting it 16th is pretty good. Pretty good run so far for Tyler. Payson Jennings in the 5 is down a couple of spots from qualifying, but it seems like they have a really good long run car. Going to use the bad run from Eric Matthews' pick here to get by Kozlinski and maybe Eric Matthews in the 03. Get the run completed. Yes, he can. Payson Jennings up to P13. Was once 3 spots down from the starting position, now has broken even. That is a great run for this 5 team right now. Of course, we have a lot of racing still to go. So it's, you know, where we are right now, not a guarantee they're going to finish there. Pit stops can shake up a lot of things. You know, we've seen pit strategy win and to lose multiple different races this season. Has been probably the most exciting factor about this season. You see Jared McKenzie getting really loose there, all following Kyle Porter. But Jennings is already setting sights on Parsons in the 67. Tim Bailey, not Danny Wygand, and Connor Harris are starting to converge. As talking about converging, Tim Bailey has caught Pat Horn. It would be a battle for 3rd place if it were to happen. Todd Conley, I believe, is faster than all of them right now. Has left Lauren McKnight in the dust. Still can't talk enough about Pace and Jennings. I mean, really, both of the Butler cars have had pretty up and down seasons, but they've had a lot of really big ups. Of course, they won the Talladega 500. But, you know, ever since then, they really haven't had a winning race car. And that hasn't been the expectation for these guys. They just want to get out some solid top 15, top 10 finishes, and that is exactly what they've been able to do. They're having a very, very solid season. At least Jennings is having a pretty good race, but their teammate Skylar Cooley has also had a pretty solid season. Of course, they're not having a good race today at Indy, but I would say that's more the outlier than what has caused this. Is Jennings going to try and make an aggressive move around the outside of Bryce Parsons in the 67 car. Yeah, that was a audacious move. Going to get really loose on the outside. That's going to invite Keselowski into this battle. Eric Matthews as well. Here comes Keselowski. Down the inside of Pace and Jennings. And is clear and moves up. And is up to P13. Keselowski up 4 on the race start. Started in 17th. Still not where he needs to be in order to be in championship contention. However, it's still a pretty decent recovery for Indy standards. Jennings, an aggressive move on the inside of turn number 2. They almost collided. Fortunately, Jennings thought the better of it and checked up. As here we see Jared McKenzie and Francis Townsend. Townsend got a much better run, and it's going to slip by McKenzie in the 41. Townsend is also on the move on this long run. I would expect pit stops around lap 35, so we have about 10, 11 more laps until that happens. We're rapidly approaching the halfway point of this race, and what a race it has been so far. Not necessarily passing-wise, but, you know, passing isn't always what could make a race exciting. As Keselowski gets by Parsons in the 67 car, up into P12 goes the Foster driver. Conley has caught Tim Bailey. And really, the entire battle for second is starting to converge here. As Jason Cooper has lost just a little bit of a step to Isabella Armstrong in the 16. Whoop. Wygen just passed Tim Bailey for 4th. Looks like something happened in Cup. We have a caution. Lap 78. Let me see if I can pick up what's going on. Horn is now under attack from Todd Conley. The 77 is on the move. It looks like start at the back, start at the front, doesn't matter. You're going to have to fight him for the win anyway. Cooper is starting to gap just a little bit to Pat Horn and Todd Conley. I think that's going to be really important here as we head into these pit stops. Conley going to try and look on the inside of Pat Horn. This would be for 3rd place. Horn charges it around the outside, and he gets the run. He gets loose. Side by side. Can Conley complete the pass, or can Horn stay on the throttle? It looks like Pat Horn is going to keep the spot. A successful defense from the Monster Racing 2 car. And you have to think for Conley, you can't get too comfortable while trying to pass this too, because Tim Bailey is right here. As we see Isabella Armstrong come down pit lane. Armstrong takes her first scheduled stop and seems to be the first driver to do so. Goes all the way down to last in the running order. And is first driver to come down pit lane. Cooper, Horn, and Todd Conley are all in, as is virtually everybody here. See Eric Matthews in the 03 on the very left side of your screen go by. You can see in the ticker, virtually everybody is coming down pit lane. I think that was a great move by Armstrong to undercut and to try to avoid this heavily congested pit lane. Matthews, Reyes, and Andrew Brewer are the 3 cars who will not pit this lap. They will certainly pit next time by. Jason Cooper goes by. There's Pat Horn, and Todd Conley had a very slow pit stop. Is all the way down there. You saw Isabella Armstrong in the 16 go by. There is Conley. But there is Pat Horn and Jason Cooper. A slow stop from Isabella Armstrong will cycle her out in 3rd place, despite the undercut. Unbelievable. They must have made a big mistake on her pit stop, and you gotta feel heartbroken for Armstrong about that one. But Jason Cooper now leads this race, and it is Pat Horn in 2nd place. This battle that seemed like it was going to only be for 2nd place is now for the race win. But you can see Todd Conley is now in a very, very distant 4th place. Incredibly unfortunate for that crew. Looks like Ryan Vio may have gained a couple of spots. Kislinky gained in that exchange. The best of the lap 31 pitters, well, the only lap 31 pitter, was Isabella Armstrong. I don't think she's going to be a contender to win this race anymore. Not only does she not have the track position, but also has inferior tires to Horn and Cooper now. If anyone is going to contend for this win, I think it has to be Pat Horn. And it is a much-needed good day for Pat Horn as well, and a day where Todd Conley is running inside of the top 5. Looks like is almost guaranteed a 4th place finish unless a caution comes out. However, Armstrong is looking really, really quick right now. Is already to the back of Pat Horn. The gap for the lead is only 1 second. That interval is only shrinking. I don't think that pit call was the right decision by Eric Matthews. You can see he's down to 16th right now. However, Bryce Parsons has cycled out in P13. That is exactly what the 67 team needed. I would say their biggest worry was probably just getting to this pit cycle and doing well on it. However, he has come out in P13. It would be an incredible day for the 67. Probably the biggest overperformance this entire season so far. I mean, X Factor Motorsports, their top of par is 28th, and they're running in P13 right now. An unbelievable day for Bryce Parsons if he can finish this off. Same for Payson Jennings. Eric Matthews going to be out of championship contention after this race. But still, for his team standards, not a bad day. Chase Palmer inside of the top 20 is something that you love to see. However, this battle for 3rd and 2nd is heating up as Pat Horn is catching Jason Cooper, but Armstrong is right there in tow. This fight for the win is not over between these two. Armstrong going to try and look around the outside. The grip is not there. However, Horn is now in slipstream range of Jason Cooper, and you can see that gap very slowly go from 0.8 to 0.7 of a second. Jason Cooper does not have this thing won. He's going to have to fend off Two of the best here, Pat Horn and Isabella Armstrong. It was a very strong turn two from them. Armstrong gonna look down the inside of Patrick Horn. Does Armstrong have the run to get it done? He's gonna try it down the inside. They nearly come to blows, but Horn is going to keep the spot. And you can see how much that helped Jason Cooper. That was about half a second right there, just because of them being side by side through there. Conley has brought this gap for the lead from 4 seconds to 2.5. So he is not out of this either. This is going to be very interesting right here because Armstrong, without that slow pit stop, would be running away with this race right now. You can tell she's abundantly faster than the two, but just has to find a way around in time. That or let Pat Horn reel in Jason Cooper, give them a shot. However, it looks like Cooper is starting to pull from Pat Horn now. This has been an incredible effort, by the way, by Isabella Armstrong in this 16. Again, is on 1 lap older tires than second and first place, but is just putting so much pressure on Pat Horn in the 2 as through turn 1. They go down the inside. They're going to be side by side through turn 2. I think the advantage now goes to Isabella Armstrong. Pat Horn gets loose, and Isabella Armstrong once again makes it a Ken Scott Racing 1-2, as the gap is now 1.36 seconds to Jason Cooper, and I think that is exactly what they needed. I think they started seeing Todd Conley get bigger and bigger in their mirror. The gap for Todd Conley is 3.2 seconds. I still think it would be a tall order for him to win this race, but I don't think it's impossible for them to get to this fight for second here if they keep fighting like this. Armstrong cut the lead by about 1/10 that lap. That would be enough, I believe, but only just. These two are going to have to start working together. However, I don't think Pat Horn has anything for Armstrong. You can see the 16 just very slowly pulling away from the 2. As you can see for Jason Cooper, both of these drivers are incredibly hungry to win this race. Both of them have had bad seasons so far. The goal for this team was to win a championship, and neither of them are even in mathematical contention. Both of them outside of the top 10 in points. Both of them want to win this team's first ever race because it might be a matter of if they return next season. Both of them might get sacked after this year. It would be incredibly unfortunate if they do. But for Armstrong and Cooper, this rivalry runs deep. They're fighting not only for this race win, but for a seat next year potentially. Pat Horn will very likely be returning to Monster Racing next season. So I very highly doubt that he will be fighting for that. And Todd Conley, who is pretty much putting one hand on the trophy after this race, I believe he'll be fine as well. But Armstrong has caught Jason Cooper in a hurry. 0.6 of a second now between these two drivers. Isabella Armstrong has dominated this race, led every lap of this first run, but is now going to have to earn it after a slow pit stop. Now down to 0.5 of a second to Jason Cooper. Under 20 laps to go here at Indianapolis. At the 3/4 mark of this race, and we have a fight for the win on our hands. Remember when I said that pit strategy makes these races as exciting as they do? Well, Armstrong looked like she had this race won. But because of that pit stop, who knows who's going to win this race? Now down to 0.3 of a second. Isabella Armstrong, who pitted on lap 31 versus everybody else who's pitted on lap 32. Armstrong is now going to go for the lead. But don't count out Todd Conley, who has caught this fight for the lead in a hurry, was 4 seconds back, and is now going to get behind Pat Horn and is going to try to work him over. He's going to have to work pretty fast, though, because if Armstrong can get by Jason Cooper, I think she's going to check out. But here she comes down the inside of Jason Cooper. Going to take a look. Can she get to his quarter panel? I think she will. Down the inside of turn number 3 goes Isabella Armstrong. The two Ken Scott Racing teammates fighting for this win. Jason Cooper gets the runoff. Will keep the lead right now. But I think that was a warning shot from Isabella Armstrong. You can see here Todd Conley has already caught Pat Horn. He is the fastest man on this racetrack. And if he can get by Pat in a timely manner, he will have enough time to compete for the win of this race. The man who has won 4 races in this 12-race championship is looking for win number 5 of this season. It would be unprecedented. Just in iRacing in general, in a stock car, for this level of dominance. But Todd Conley, race in and race out, it says it doesn't matter where you qualify. It matters where you race. And Todd Conley now looking at the inside of Pat Horn. That is going to spell trouble for Isabella Armstrong. As Conley fights for the lead, so will Isabella Armstrong. Down the inside of turn number 1, Cooper kind of half covers it. That's slow for both of them. But Conley, very consequentially, cannot get that move made in turn number 1s and 2. Pat Horn gonna try and hold him off, but Pat is gonna have to go defensive here in turns number 3. Down the inside Conley goes. Horn gives him a lot of room, and Conley is now up into P3. The 77, the odds of Todd Conley in the 77 winning this race is now very real. Armstrong has got to start panicking now. She has to get by Jason Cooper in the 15. He's holding her up. But the gap for Todd Conley is now less than a second, and we still have more than 10 laps to go in this race. I think those tires are starting to catch up with Armstrong. These two are fighting it out like never seen before in the NRL iRacing series. Both of these drivers are incredibly hungry, but their fighting is letting Todd Conley into this fight for the win. Pat Horn in a distant 4th place right now, but Conley has caught the lead 3 right now. Isabella Armstrong has run out of time. It is no longer attack. It is now defend for the 16. Or a Ken Scott car might not even win this race. What a race it has been for Todd Conley. Started in 9th. Had a slow pit stop. Was 5 seconds out when he cycled. But he must have made great adjustments on that race car, because Todd has been by far the fastest race car on this track, on this fabled racetrack, as Armstrong is trying everything to get by, and here comes Todd Conley. Cooper and Armstrong's fighting is going to be their downfall. Conley is now up to second place. If Cooper had just let Isabella Armstrong by, they might have been okay. And a Ken Scott car might have been in victory lane, but their infighting has led to this man who has won 4 races to almost inevitably win his 5th with how fast he's been. Jason Cooper is going to need a defensive masterclass here. That or for Conley's tires to start wearing out now. Three cars under a blanket. 11 laps to go at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What an exciting race this has been for the win. Heading into turn number 1. No pressure from Jason Cooper to take the corner, but Conley gonna try and peek around the outside. That's not going to be a very good move. Armstrong going to try and capitalize, but not enough momentum for the 16. Conley going to try and get the runoff of turn number 2. He will. He's going to have the draft. I think the question is, can he get to the inside of turn number 3? Move will not happen right now. That dirty air is going to be inconsequential. But here he goes for the race lead, Todd Conley. Down the inside, Cooper gets washed up the marbles, and Todd Conley takes the lead of the race. Up 8 spots from the start, and Todd Conley has proven that nothing can stop this 77 team this season. And you have to think what could have been for these Ken Scott guys. Nothing left in the tank for these two. If Isabella Armstrong hadn't messed up her pit stop, it's looking very likely that she would be the winner of this race. Had a 2.5-second lead that turned into 2 seconds behind Jason Cooper. About a 6-second loss. Armstrong would be comfortably in the win right now. Ken Scott and that team is going to be kicking themselves after this race. However, if we go through the field here, it's not all doom and gloom. Ryan Vio has had a very strong race, running inside of the top 10. Keith Richmond is the best Sean Peterson car this race right now, which is crazy when you think that Eric Matthews has been a dark horse championship threat. Richmond having a very strong race. Brock Keselowski started in 17th, up 7 spots, and is now 10th. Is not the race that he wanted to have, but, you know, trying to salvage what he could from qualifying has been a very strong result for Keselowski despite the circumstances. Connor Harris, who looked like he had about a 7th place car today, has fallen down into P11 where he started. Although with the Ken Scott guys fighting for the win, for Connor, it's going to feel a little bit sour to be running outside of the top 10. Speaking of having a sour feeling in his mouth, Danny Wygand, who looked like he could have been a top 5 car today, he has just been too loose and has lost 5 spots in this race. And despite losing 5 spots, it is going to be very happy goings for Bryce Parsons if he can just finish this race inside of the top 15. An unbelievable race for the 67. From start to finish, he has made absolutely no mistakes. And despite being 5 seconds off of Danny Wygand and under immense pressure from Payson Jennings, Eric Matthews, and Kyle Porter, this team has to celebrate like it's a race win. A top 30 is what they would expect to run here today. But right now they are running in P13 after starting well inside of the top 10. And for Payson Jennings, you know, despite running inside of the top 10, you got to think that they would be a little bit disappointed, but it's still a very strong day for that Butler Motorsports team. A team who is in need of a lot of momentum heading into next year. and Eric Matthews, who has proven everybody day in and day out that he can wheel a race car. Still, you know, the bar has been set so high that in a car where a top 20 is a good day, where you're not running it well inside of the top 10 is a bad day for Eric Matthews in the 03, as he tries to look down the inside of Payson Jennings. But Eric Matthews has put on a very strong race. You know, he had a really bad pit stop, put him down this far, but still running inside of the top 15. Still a decent day for that 03. Jared McKenzie in the Osada Racing Enterprises, the highest running driver of that team. Surprisingly, won practice at the last minute over Conley. Of course, that was a slipstream lap, but still something to brag about a little bit. Tyler Moffitt having a pretty decent day, a little bit above par for that Parker Enterprises car. And Tyler Towers, your Nashville winner, running inside of the top 20, up 9 spots from where he started. Osada is going to be wishing they had a little bit more speed this weekend, but still could have dodged a really big bullet with this Towers 44 machine. However, Stephen Lowry is 28th right now. This is a bad, bad, bad day for this 40 crew. Trying to get by Brett Hartlinger in 27th, who himself is having a pretty good day. Here's Skylar Cooley running in 26th spot, qualified virtually last on the grid. Trying to make something out of a nothing day. However, for the lead, it has all been Todd Conley as Armstrong finally gets by Jason Cooper just about 20 laps too late. As looks like Tim Bailey is actually incredibly quick right now, as Pat Horn might get to the Ken Scott Racing Cards if he can get there quick enough. Tim Bailey is another driver who needed a lot of momentum. Looked like would be the main championship rival to Todd Conley this year. But it turns out nobody is his rival. But Bailey was the early on second, third in points, but kind of fell off to Brock Keselowski near the mid portion of the year. Was looking to make up a lot of points on Keselowski, and now Pat Horn, who's going to take a look down the inside at turn number 3. Will the move stick for Tim Bailey? Got that outside lane to work, and Horn will keep the spot. The gap for the lead is now 3 seconds with Todd Conley up there. I want to give another shout out to Sean Marriott, who's had a very quiet day. About 10 seconds off of the race lead, but I don't think that really shows the kind of day that this one car has had. You know, he had a poor qualifying effort. He had a terrible start to the season, but 2 straight second place finishes and many more top 5s for Marriott has put him back to where he was expected to be in points. And in a day where it looked like he may have sunk, is up 5 spots on this race start. Sean Marriott has had a very, very strong day. And, you know, we were ragging on him a lot, this one team, for being around 26 in points after about 5 races. But they have brought it back, so I want to give them just as much credit as I did rag on him. Ryan Vio up another 7 spots. A really, really good day for Vio. Amethyst Racing has been very hit or miss this season. They're B+, which is 1 rank below Tyson Elliott Racing, and of course we've seen what Conley has done this year. But of course he had that dominant win at Auto Club. I think it's going to be a day that they are going to be very proud of when this race ends. But right now, it is all Todd Conley who was 4 seconds back when this run ended, and is going to get into this first lap car of Craig Ward here. Who is running in last. On 6 spots there, but white flag for Todd Conley in the 77. What a season it has been for Todd. You know, he's dominated races. He's won races that maybe he shouldn't have. But even now, starting from 9th on the grid, it seemed like there was no way that he would be able to win this race. But still, Todd has proven that if you want to win any NRL iRacing Series race, you have to go through him. In a race that seemed like Isabella Armstrong hadn't won through turn 4 for the last time, Todd Conley is going to put one hand on the championship trophy with 2 races remaining. Todd Conley wins at Indianapolis for his 5th win of the season. He's won half of the races this year. Second place goes to Isabella Armstrong. You really have to think what could have been if that botched pit stop didn't happen, but still a 2nd and 3rd place racing for Ken Scott is exactly what they needed in order to make up some points. Pat Horn is going to finish in 4th, right ahead of Tim Bailey, who was not able to work off the 2, but still a solid top 5 for Bailey. Lauren McKnight, I don't think we talked about her very much this race, but a very solid and quiet 6th place finish. Sean Marriott will finish in 7th. Ryan Vio, 8th. Keith Richmond, a very solid top 10 for the part-timer. And Brock Keslinski rounds out your top 10 after starting in 17th place. A great race it has been at Indianapolis. I'm Cale Teskar Jr., signing off.